Aloha, and welcome to Feast, Dish, and Dialogue, a podcast presented by the Hawaii Ag and Culinary Alliance, sharing conversations from the Feast Summit at the annual Hawaiʻi Food and Wine Festival. Here, leaders across food, education, agriculture, sustainability, and tourism come together to explore the future of food systems and hospitality, and how culinary sits at the center of the visitor experience in Hawaii and beyond. In this Feast Dish episode, we feature keynote speaker Michel Nischan, James Beard award-winning chef and food equity advocate from the Feast Summit stage. Recorded live at the summit, Nischan shares how his groundbreaking work through Wholesome Crave and OneKitchen has helped redefine the role of chefs in advancing social change.
Quick thanks to Denise Yamaguchi, Hawaiʻi Food Wine Festival. They've been awesome in inviting us here, but also giving the support we need to be where we need to be on time. And any of the sponsors that you've seen on the list, please respect and thank those sponsors so that they can keep Denise and Roy and Alan doing the great things that they're doing and bringing the community together to have these important conversations. Now, I usually don't write stuff down. I usually walk around and talk. But as my late mother would say, if you ask Michelle what time it is, she'll tell you how a clock is built. Or the words of my dear friend Jacques Pepin's daughter Claudine would say, people are busy, Michelle, be brief, be brilliant, and be gone. I will be brief, I will be gone. Brilliant is another thing, that's not me. But I have been blessed as a chef to have learned from a few key mentors along the way to understand the trust that I hold from those that I've served over the years and how to turn that into a voice of some sort of reason, especially during these kind of wackadoo times that we live in. My late Wholesome Wave partner, Gus Schumacher, former Undersecretary of Agriculture, and then my dear valued friends, Jacques Pepin, and of course, Shep Gordon. In service to the title, The Power and Influence of the Celebrity Chef, mostly going to be kind of speaking to the chefs in the room. It's for everybody, but this is a moment in time where I really do believe we need to step into ourselves, right? So, honored to share the stage with Reem Assil. Reem uses unique blessings within Arab hospitality to build bridges where others build walls. We know all about that. Shota Nakajima, whose global vision and Japanese-American perspective shows how cultural roots feed real innovation. Jonathan Waxman, OG Jonathan, he shares that place with me and Shep. Pioneering work continues to define the American good food movement, inspiring thousands of chefs in the way that they run their operations and serve people. And then Shep, who really understood long before anybody else that chefs could shape culture within the same force as celebrity musicians, that they could actually turn talent and visibility into real meaningful impact. I don't think we would be having these conversations today, frankly, Shep, if you didn't do the early work that you did, which he always did on behalf of our community pro bono. I want to set the table by quoting a friend of mine who spoke at our Wholesome Wave fundraiser. I have a nonprofit, Wholesome Wave. We're the guys who created doubling SNAP benefits, or fruits and vegetables, when spent, or doubling your SNAP benefits when spent on fruits and vegetables at farmers markets. That we had that fundraiser night before last night, and one of our longtime supporters, Charlie Marinoff, who owns a beverage company called Breakthrough Beverage. It's a multi-generation company that served chefs and restaurants in our industry for years, and he just got up out of the blue and turned to the chefs and just went off with some really wonderful words, and to me, he eloquently kind of summed up the answer of why chefs. And these are Charlie's words. For years, we looked at you as cooks, people who make delicious food, people who recognize and appreciate quality, people with this odd ability to turn what would seem like somebody else's garbage into our gold, deliciously, under any circumstance, always amazing, always delicious. No matter what's in your hands, you've given that to us. But then we all began to realize over time that you've not only fed us, you've helped us celebrate meeting our loved ones, the birth of our children, provided a safe space when things weren't going well for our family. You helped us figure out how to make sense of all of the confusing stuff around food. Organic, sustainable, supplements, biodynamic, regenerative, what's real, what's not, what's actionable, what's not. He said these things, not my words. We've always come to you because we've always trusted you would find the truth and speak it, because we've always known how you truly care for us when we're in your space. And we now include the sunshine you provided us in our own lives when we feed our own families, because you showed us the way. You are chefs, you're a class of your own, we're honored to be in your presence, and we deeply appreciate how the quality of our lives has improved over the years because of the sacrifices you all make every day just to deliver us something truly meaningful and delicious. And then he said, please, I beg you to continue. The world needs you now more than ever. You make our world a better place through your talent and true love of feeding people. Please be very proud of yourselves. Please, I'm going to cry. No one's ever spoken to us like that. We're proud of you because now we see you, now we know who you are, and we are grateful. So Charlie nailed it. Charlie nailed it. Give Charlie a round of applause. He's a wonderful human being.
You're listening to Feast, Dish and Dialogue, conversations from the Feast Summit exploring how food, culture, and hospitality shape the visitor experience in Hawaii and beyond.
Anyway, for too long, we have been viewed as the garnish on the plate of everybody else's ideas around food and food issues, the pretty face in the recipe, the auction item at the fundraiser, the donated food, the whatever it might be, right? I believe that chefs are actually the center of the plate. The meat of the matter relative to any food issue, food systems, or any hope of systems change. We're the ones who brought heirloom tomatoes to you. Now you can buy them at a Piggly Wiggly in rural Alabama. And we're the ones who should really begin taking a lead role that can turn food from kind of culinary concepts and competing experiences into generative societal business influence, otherwise known as change. Real change. Change the entire world can taste. Many of you have been there. You come to our places, you work in our places, you're the front of the house of our places, you help us tell the stories, but you know what that is. I've been at this for 40 years, really figured it out over the last 18. I've watched us get brought in at the end of important conversations where policy, finance, institutional decisions about food are made, and we're brought in to make it look good, make it taste good, or feel human, or more relatable, basically to put some kind of a stamp of approval on other people's ideas around what the world should be doing when it comes to food. In truth, we've been the original system thinkers all along. We understand the chain from seed to soil to table to soul, back to the soil again. And when we step fully into that power, we can actually help reform the food system in ways that political leaders, academics, NGOs, and CEOs can't do alone. Someone's got to welcome the general public to the table, and when we open our doors, everybody comes, regardless of their ideology, to whom they pray, who they love, where they're from, the language they speak, or whether or not they even have an income. They come if we open our doors. Term celebrity chef sounds a little superficial. I can't stand when people call me a celebrity chef. I'm one of those guys, I think of myself as like almost famous, thank God, but it's an important word because it simply means that people pay attention to us. And what matters is what we do with that attention, right? Our influence doesn't stop at the dining room door when the TV turns off. Our voice, our ideas, innovations already reach into boardrooms, classrooms, the hall of government, anywhere food decisions are made, even though we're often not there. So I've spent decades moving between farm, kitchen, boardroom. My grandparents were farmers. I worked on their farm every summer until my grandfather passed when I was 17. I've seen how difficult it can be for decision makers to see us as peers and as partners. A lot of us don't have an academic background or an education. We don't speak a lot of the languages that these leaders speak. But when it comes to opening the door and everybody showing up, that's kind of like our superpower. So we can no longer afford to kind of separate culinary creativity from agriculture and workplace equity, the act of cooking and feeding from the act of curing and healing. All of these things are wrapped into food. I want to leave with you today, especially those in positions of institutional power. The chefs in your orbit need to be seen as more than just PR assets. We are change agents. You need to start seeing us as key partners when it comes to any consideration for the design architecture of any food issue that you're trying to solve. We deserve to be at the center of the plate, not just the garnish. So, some chefs that define what it means to lead beyond the four walls of your kitchen. You guys have probably heard from Sean Sherman earlier today. You know, we've been friends for decades. His work restoring indigenous food systems and food sovereignty shows what it means to turn historical trauma into living resilience instead of anger. Proving that indigenous isn't just a niche, it's the original regeneration story that Mother Earth is demanding us to return to with every stronger hurricane she sends us. Every wildfire that befalls us. It's because we've gotten away from how we should be doing food. Jose Andres showed the world what happens when a chef refuses to wait for bureaucracy to catch up with compassion. I mean, governments now model their crisis feeding plans on what he pioneered, going to places like Puerto Rico with cash in his pocket to warehouses full of food that were just sitting there waiting to rot while people were starving, right? Crazy. If you want to get it done, give it to a chef. They get that shit done. When I founded Wholesome Wave, I wanted to prove that nonprofit work could be done differently. Move policy, that chefs could actually help imagine and write laws, not just menus. SNAP incentives for local fruits and vegetables were illegal when we founded the organization. And now they're a permanent part of the federal farm bill because of our work. Fully funded, they reach 2 million people a year. That's a big deal. But 47 million people rely on SNAP. So it's just not enough. It isn't enough. Philanthropy couldn't close that gap, so I created a company called Wholesome Crave. We make plant-based and plant-forward soups. We sell to colleges, universities, all that stuff to support the work of Wholesome Wave so that we can continue that work. This is what chefs do. It's like, if I can't, I'm always going to find a way to get the resources I need to keep doing the things that are most meaningful to the people I'm feeding, not to me personally. I mean, to me personally, I want to know that anybody that's put my food into their mouth, that they're well fed, that they're better than they would have been before they actually put that food in their mouth, but it really is for everybody else. We'll figure out a way to keep our work going. We're proving food manufacturing can be done differently. Clean label, culturally authentic, nutrient-dense, organic, whole, restorative. These are little buzzwords that you see, some of which on packages of a lot of manufactured foods. Everything of that is 100% in everything that we do, everything that Sean does, everything that Manit Chauhan does, everything that Pierre Tom does, everything that these chefs here do. We're 100% of the time.
Feast, Dish and Dialogue is presented by the Hawaiʻi Ag and Culinary Alliance, the nonprofit organization behind the Hawaiʻi Food and Wine Festival. Founded to strengthen Hawaii's culinary and agricultural industries, HACA connects world-class culinary events with year-round investment in education, workforce development, and local agriculture. Through programs that support students, entrepreneurs, farmers, and hospitality professionals, HACA works to ensure Hawaii's food and hospitality ecosystem continues to grow, innovate, and thrive.
The reason I believe chefs need to be viewed as partners in the system, in system reform, isn't just theory. I've seen it work. 13 years ago, Eric Kessler and I co-founded this thing called the James Beard Boot Camps for Policy and Change. These are super immersive, emotional trainings where chefs come together for 3 days and learn how to really find their inner voice so that they can have an impact beyond the four walls of their kitchen. And today, I continue to curate and lead these boot camps where more than 400 chefs from 30 states have been through there. And we've seen these kids go out and start working on things from food justice, farm worker fairness, indigenous food sovereignty, sustainability, you name it. But it's all disaggregated. During these sessions, we highlight this thing called the Edelman Trust Barometer. Is anybody familiar with it at all? If you're into marketing, you should really follow it because it's a global survey about what people trust the most. And every 2 years it shows that when it comes to any issue around food and health, that chefs are trusted more than doctors, nutritionists, dietitians, academics when it comes to those issues. This is like 6 years in a row, 12 years, 6 studies. And again, that's because when we open our door, we welcome everybody. If you guys have a question about food, Michelle, my daughter married a vegan, what do I do? My sister-in-law got type 2 diabetes, can you help me? Is this organic thing real or not? They ask us because they know that when we give them the answer, we will be telling them the truth. And we'll be telling them the truth in terms that they can understand. We make that our business because we just want everybody to be happy. We just want everybody to be well fed. So that's why trust is our most powerful tool. It's our most powerful asset, chefs. That's what we hold. And when it comes to food, we own it. Others know it, which is why they've been tapping into us and leveraging us. Now it's our turn. Now it's our turn to leverage that trust in a way that we can actually lead. I think about Roy and Alan and Shep and Peter and all of the chefs here that have really, really worked so that people who come to Hawaii actually know Hawaii for who she is, the food that comes from her land and the hands that brought that food to us and then those who make it. It's amazing. Roy's now directing the Culinary Institute of the Pacific, helped launch this tuition-covered intensive that have already trained over 150 chefs at no cost to them so that they can fit into the food system here or leadership systems. When the Lahaina fires devastated Maui, he raised over $1.5 million through the Kukua Fund. He, Mark Noguchi, and others mobilized the broader culinary community to cook thousands of meals for displaced families and hospitality workers long before the Red Cross showed up. That's rapid-fire organized action. That's a chef as a co-architect in a local system. Before I close, I do want to call our institutions to really join us in thinking about chefs being different. I think Michael Bacher is a great addition to the Culinary Institute of America. When he did the food at Google, he's the guy who created the entire employee environment now that most of the feeders of the world, the Morgan Stanleys, the JP Morgan Chases, the Amazons, people that are employing thousands of people, model it after them, because he said when good food, meaningful food is free, available, high quality, locally grown, regenerative, when you actually give the eaters what they want, they're going to create the future of all technology as we know it. He's now the president of the Culinary Institute of America, and it's time for that type of thinking in that institution. And I know Roy is a big part of that.
If today's conversation inspires you, we invite you to experience it in person at the Feast Summit, returning Thursday, November 5th, 2026 in Honolulu during the 16th Annual Hawaiʻi Food and Wine Festival. Mark your calendars, tickets go on sale this May. Learn more at hawaiifoodandwinefestival.com.
It's heartening to see appetite for change in our public institutions. The good senator here, through Act 137, supported and passed under Ron Cucci, the state of Hawaii is now committed to sourcing up to 50% of all of its food from local producers by 2025. Roy, Alan, Mark, Ed, Kenny, Leanne, you guys, you're already doing that. The senator's paving the way so everybody else will. And I think that's huge. So I'd like to think that legislation was inspired by the guys that you work. In fact, Senator, correct me if I'm wrong, it was, right? Okay. Universities, corporate food service, government institutions, global brands already influence how and what people eat. Food strategies must now be written with chefs at the table from the very beginning. So the time to grow is now, and growth in this context doesn't mean volume, it means values. Deep, meaningful values. We've proven that chefs can drive federal policy. We've proven that we can heal broken supply chains and broken communities. What we need now is partnership, real equitable, co-created partnership. Shep, your work isn't done because you're going to help us get there. So, guys, let's stop being the garnish on the plate. Are you up for that? Are you up for that, Chef? You better nod your head stronger than that, man. Come on. Come on, Shoku. We're going to be the main course, the center of every conversation about food, how food can and must make the places we call home and indeed the world a better place for all, no matter from where we came, to whom we pray, who we love, the language we speak, or whether we not even have a bank account. None of those things should determine whether or not we can feed ourselves, our families, or our neighbors well. So we, as those who feed, understand this. I ask those of you who are not chefs to think of us less as those who feed and now those who will begin to lead. Thank you.
Mahalo for listening to Feast, Dish, and Dialogue. If you enjoyed this conversation, subscribe and share it with someone passionate about food, agriculture, and hospitality. To learn more about the Feast Summit and the Hawaiʻi Food and Wine Festival, visit hawaiʻifoodandwinefestival.com. Be sure to join us for the next episode of Feast, Dish, and Dialogue.